I'd like to call this meeting to order. Due to the COVID-19 health emergency and in order for the Board of Education to conduct its business, this board meeting is being held via video conference and streamed live on YouTube on the district website at www.ebnet.org. In addition, members of the public may provide comment at this meeting through Zoom by entering the URL, meeting ID, and password you will see before you on the screen.
There we go.
Upon joining the meeting, your participation will be muted to ensure there is no disruption to the business being conducted by the Board of Education. Will the secretary please call the roll?
Mrs. Chu.
Here.
Mr. Sismar.
Here.
Mrs. Guas. Mr. Hong.
Here.
Mrs. Lax. Here. Mrs. Reese.
Here.
Mr. Simmons.
Here.
Mr. Winston.
Here.
President Becker.
Here, we have a quorum. Please rise to salute the flag.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
The New Jersey Open Public Meeting Law was enacted to ensure the right of the public to have advance notice of and to attend the meetings of public bodies. In accordance with the provisions of this act, the East Brunswick Board of Education has caused notice of this meeting to be posted at the Board of Education offices. Written notice was also provided to the Sentinel, the Newark Star-Ledger, the Home News and Tribune, and the Municipal Clerk of East Brunswick. All Board of Education meetings, with the exception of executive session discussions, are videotaped for later broadcast, and individuals who speak at the board's public meetings should be aware of these videotaping rules. Good evening, and thank you for joining us tonight. We'll start out with the superintendent's report.
Thank you, President Becker, and good evening, everyone. The artwork displayed in the boardroom this evening is from grades K to 12 across all 11 of our schools. All of the artwork displayed was submitted during the distance learning period of April through June of 2020. The continued dedication of our visual arts staff and students in any instructional environment is evident by the brilliant art pieces surrounding the room this evening. I'm proud to announce we have 53 commended students in the 2021 National Merit Scholarship Program. So congratulations to each of them and their families. Churchill Junior High School Orchestra teachers Sarah Francino and Dr. Anna Braun demonstrate excellence not only in the arts but also in concurrent teaching and learning. And let's take a moment to listen to our students. With the aid of a generous grant from the East Brunswick Education Foundation that provided all 167 orchestra students with Smart Music, a web-based interactive music software, these teachers were able to even further enhance their concurrent instruction. This program enables students to practice and self-assess their performances while at home. The video demonstrates Smart Music being used in conjunction with Microsoft Teams during the orchestra class. So congratulations to them, very cool. East Brunswick won the GMC Sportsmanship Award for the 2019-2020 seasons. The NJSIAA recognizes the conference winners with a banner for good sportsmanship. The football games will be by invitation only, as we are inviting just the families of the teams involved first. will be following Governor Murphy's executive order limiting 500 people at outdoor events. If you are a spectator at any of our EB athletic events, you must wear a mask and adhere to all social distancing protocols. Good luck to our fall teams, and go Bears. On this evening's agenda is a resolution of proclamation for National Principals Month. I'm proud to recognize the critical instructional leadership of our principals and secondary assistant principals. We appreciate their dedication and commitment to the students and the community of East Brunswick. Also on this evening's agenda is a resolution of proclamation for Fire Prevention Week, which is October 4th through the 10th. The theme this year is Serve Up Fire Safety in the Kitchen, as cooking remains the leading cause of home fires. We are grateful to Fire Marshals John Talbot and Sean Verdi, the Fire Prevention Bureau, and all the volunteer firefighters who serve the East Brunswick community. In early March, when schools and businesses closed for in-person operations due to the pandemic, it became necessary for the East Brunswick Education Foundation to postpone its annual Partner in Excellence Awards dinner and Alumni Hall of Fame induction ceremony scheduled to take place on March 31st. Due to continued extraordinary circumstances, the Partner in Excellence Awards segment honoring Joanne Chmielewicz, Leslie Anderson, and Jane Mueller will instead be a small, socially distanced, invitation-only presentation on October 13th at the Joanne Magistro Performing Arts Center. And just as a reminder, virtual parent-teacher conferences will take place on Tuesday, October 20th through Friday, October 23rd. And there will be no supplemental virtual afternoon sessions on those days. Thank you.
Dr. Valesky, have we been having virtual back-to-school nights?
We have not, but this year we are. This is our first.
And
Back to school for this year, yes, absolutely.
and they've been going on.
They have been going on since the first week of school.
How, could you just tell us how that's been going?
We have not heard anything pro or con from the parents about it, but we suspect that it's going over quite well. People are logging in and they're hearing directly from their teachers, so. It was designed to be pretty seamless, and we feel like it. I don't know if any of you have heard anything different.
I don't know if any of our parents have attended. Mark?
On a different note, I was hoping for a more detailed report about COVID in the schools in September. The announcement that came out today basically just said about one student that was positive
Correct.
and one staff member with a negative.
Right, a false positive.
Can we have more details on the impact as far as the amount of people quarantined, students, staff, schools?
We had a total of 5 unique individuals that were close contacts. So they were in close proximity to people who had been reported by families to have been positive COVID cases. They were all outside of school, but they came into school, reported they were close contacts. So as a close contact, you're first tier. You quarantine for 14 days if you're a close contact to a known positive COVID case. We did have one student that came into the high school and was a positive, and that impacted 27 students, and it impacted 10 teachers. So we had a total of 37 individuals at the high school that were impacted under quarantine from that event. And then we had a teacher who had taken a rapid COVID test, tested positive, but the next day went for the more invasive nasal swab, which is the 24-hour turnaround, and tested negative. So, but we, out of caution, we continue the quarantine of those people that were identified. There were about 25 students that teacher came in contact at an elementary school because she was a traveling, moving teacher from classroom to classroom. And that's been the extent of it, Mark. That we haven't had a case of known transmission within our school district. All of the exposures have been outside the district, and people are coming in, which is part of my messaging to the community. And if you notice a theme about self-reporting, and that's what's been so important to our success so far, that people are coming forward and saying that they knew they were in proximity to a family member, they were at an event, and somebody said they were positive. I want to let you know that I was there, and then we go ahead and we quarantine them and we move on. So it's been working it's been working well for us right now.
Can I ask too that maybe, and I don't know if it would have to be a motion or just something I could ask, could we revisit letting the community know when it's a significant impact, as we had with the 25 students? And I think am I allowed to say the name of the school?
Yeah, you can say the name of the school.
Yeah,
We do,
the central school incident, because then, I think when it comes from you with a significant impact from that,
right,
it gives solid numbers and it takes out the talk amongst the community.
okay.
And also it gives, people a sense of mind in the whole town. I would think it's something that the whole town,
Yeah, we did report
be
the
aware
high
of.
school incident out, but the teacher who was a false positive and subsequently tested negative, that occurred this past Friday, but by Sunday afternoon, we were getting a report that she had already come back with a comprehensive test. It was negative, and didn't communicate any further on that. But all the individuals who had been in contact had been identified individually by the building principal, and they were quarantining. So the Department of Health recommended we just continue with that out of abundance of caution. And I assume that's because of the variability in the two tests. So, but we didn't communicate any further on that one.
yeah, just, like I said, the reason I'm making a suggestion is I just think taking out the guesswork that people have, and
Right,
I won't even mention social media at this point, but
right.
at least it's a message from you of significant impact like that for the close contact incidents, because
Okay.
that was taken off the table on the 14th of September, and I don't know, I just want to make a suggestion, maybe put it back on the table
Okay.
for something that results in classes quarantined, so we have solid information out there, not rumors.
Yeah, and I
That's-
think we're going to create our own dashboard too about,
Great.
numbers. So when people start to make decisions about, and you heard in the messaging today about making a decision in your learning model selection. So people have accurate information up to the point they make that decision about how they feel about returning their child or their children to school. So,
Thank
yeah.
you. Yep, thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Valesky. Thank you, Mark. Okay, as Dr. Valesky mentioned, we have a few proclamations. The first one is Fire Prevention Week, October 4th through 10th. According to the National Fire Prevention Association, this year's Fire Prevention Week campaign is Serve Up Fire Safety in the Kitchen, as cooking remains the leading cause of home fires. Whereas East Brunswick first responders are dedicated to reducing the occurrence of home fires and home fire injuries through prevention and protection education. And whereas committed to ensuring the safety and security of all those living in and visiting our town, including our educational community, the East Brunswick Public Schools welcomes East Brunswick's fire and emergency services personnel into our schools to educate our students. Therefore, be it resolved that the East Brunswick Board of Education recognizes October 4th through 10th, 2020 as Fire Prevention Week and encourages all people of East Brunswick to heed the important safety messages of Fire Prevention Week 2020 and to support the many public safety activities and efforts of East Brunswick's fire and emergency services. And be it further resolved that the East Brunswick Board of Education appreciates the efforts of East Brunswick Fire and Emergency Services personnel to make our community a safe place in which to live. Can I please have a motion for that proclamation?
So moved.
Moved by Todd, second by Mark. Is there any discussion?
I just think people don't realize how many volunteers in this community serve in that capacity. As a police officer, I was paid, and that's, these people volunteer their own time. They take time away from their families in the middle of the night. It's one of the first responders that the sacrifice is great. So I'm proud to say I live in East Brunswick, and we have that many people, men and women, that volunteer to do that job. So thank you.
Yeah, I think we've all seen too many times over the years that the first responders are the ones not only respond first, but are first in line to put their lives on the line. And they do that every single time they walk into a situation. You don't know, there's still so much we don't know about fire. And a small fire starts out small, turns into a deadly blaze. And the fact that they are willing to put their lives on the line so that we can all go about our lives is just incredible. It's become a cliche, but during this pandemic, everyone kept saying the first responders are the real heroes. But I think that we've known that for a long time, even before the pandemic. They are heroes, each and every one of them, and we are so grateful to them. Anyone else? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstain? Motion carries. Lori, would you please read the next proclamation?
Whereas schools inspire the next generation of professionals, political leaders, artists, educators, and others who contribute to a healthy and prosperous society, and whereas principals and assistant principals are responsible for providing instructional leadership and professional management in our schools, and whereas principals and assistant principals set the academic tone for their schools, and they work collaboratively with teachers to develop and maintain high curriculum standards, set performance goals and objectives, and ensure high-quality instruction, and whereas school principals and assistant principals are responsible for their safety of their students and staff and the security of the school, and whereas principals and assistant principals are key to implementing state and federal education reforms in New Jersey, and whereas the month of October 2020 has been declared National Principals Month and is dedicated to recognizing the significant contributions of our nation's principals and assistant principals, and the enthusiasm they have for providing quality education experiences and guidance to their students. And whereas the East Brunswick Board of Education recognizes and appreciates the skills, dedication, and commitment of its principals and assistant principals and the challenges they face daily. Now therefore be it resolved that the East Brunswick Board of Education recognizes and commends its principals and assistant principals for the continued service to our children.
May I please have a motion for that proclamation?
So moved.
By Mark, second by Jeff. Is there any discussion? Lori?
They forgot the most important thing. They are rock stars. These building leaders are everything to our staff, to our students. So I appreciate you letting me read this because I have always said for years, the principals when we were growing up were people to be feared. You only saw the principal if you did something wrong. Now these principals run everything, and they do it in such a way that these kids adore them, respect them, look up to them. So every month should be National Principals Month, as far as I'm concerned. I thank each and every one of them. We are so fortunate in this district to have such terrific principals, and rock stars, as my children would say, so.
Anyone else? Lee Wu?
I agreed 100% for everything Laura said. Those principals, it's not just the school leader, they are community leaders in their small community. When people look at East Brunswick Public School, they first look at Dr. Vlasky, and then they will look at the principals and assistant principals. So you guys are the backbone of East Brunswick community. You guys are the most, I should say, is very important asset of our community. Thank you very much, including Dr. Vlasky and all those principals and assistant principals.
Thank you. Anyone else wishing to say something? Okay.
Vote.
I asked for the motion. Okay,
You have the
yes.
motion.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstain? Motion carries. Now we come to the good of the cause to the public. Members of the public may provide comment at this meeting through Zoom by entering the URL, meeting ID, and password you see before you on the screen. In order to be recognized, please use the chat feature. Select the Zoom meeting host, then enter and send your name to the host. You will be recognized to speak when your name is called, and individuals will be invited to speak in the order in which we have received your request. The Board of Education values public comment on educational issues and the importance of allowing members of the public to express themselves on school matters of community interest. Participants are limited to 3 minutes duration. Is there anyone wishing to address the board tonight?
No one has requested to speak.
No one has requested to speak. Seeing none, I close the public
Oh.
portion.
We just had one person ask.
One person?
One person.
Okay, at the buzzer, one person.
Okay. So this is Stephen Shen.
Welcome, Stephen.
Hello. Hello. I'm
Hello.
a fifth grader. Hi, but I have two concerns about our school safety. The first one is that our school doesn't require students and teachers to wear gloves. For example, if a teacher passes something to a student, then if the teacher infected, the coronavirus will travel from the hand onto whatever he or she is passing, then it will go onto the student and will spread COVID-19. That's the major issue I have. The second is not so major, but I think it still should be recognized. It is that some of our schools, like mine, because I go to one-stop elementary school, have snack time. During the snack time, students remain in the classroom, taking off and then putting back on their masks. The solution to this, I see, is that we should let the students eat snacks in groups instead of just the whole class at once. That way, that would also minimize the amount of people taking off their masks and putting on their masks. Those are my only two concerns. Thank you.
Thank you for addressing the board tonight.
That's it. There's no
And
one
now,
else.
and thank you very much for addressing the board tonight, Stephen. And now I close the public portion. Moving on to our Board of Education items, can I please have a motion for items 1 through 4?
So moved.
Moved by Mark.
Second, Jeff.
Second by Jeff. Is there any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstain? Motion carries. Can I please have a motion for our one item on our community program
So moved.
agenda? Moved by Mark, second by Todd. Is there any discussion? Barbara, did you say something?
She's mute. Barbara's
No, but
muted.
since you mentioned it, I could.
You don't have to. We just heard you beeping.
Oh, I don't know. Well, I would just say thank you to community programs because they are offering many lovely virtual programs.
Barbara,
Yeah.
Barbara, if you have your audio on the computer, could you mute that, please?
It is.
yeah, we're getting feedback.
It is off. It is off. Just quickly, I'll say that
It's better.
is better, okay. The variety of programs that they're offering are wonderful, and it's a good thing to have those options after school to provide the enrichment, so I thank the district for that.
Thanks, Barb. Anyone else? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstain? Motion carries. Can I please have a motion for items 1 through 3 on our curriculum and instruction agenda?
So moved.
Moved by Lee Wu,
Second, Jeff.
second by Jeff. Is there any discussion? I actually had something to bring up. I had asked Dr. Valesky, I am the biggest fan of the arts. I've been behind spending money on the arts. I've been behind art program development. I just wasn't sure if we should be spending money on a cast and crew to build and design sets for virtual production. I wasn't sure if that was a good use of our money at this time. And I also asked him about a choreographer and a costume designer, which are the 2 and 3. And he explained to me that this is actually a motion to provide funding if we have an in-person production of the spring musical at the high school. But I'd like him to give a more full commentary on this because I still have some concerns.
Well, actually, I'm going to ask Dr. Boley to give the full commentary, and then we'll be happy to address any concerns you have left.
Certainly. So the agenda item here is seeking to both secure these 3 artists in residence services if they're needed, and to seek board approval to put up a PO to pay them for their services if and when the time comes that we will use their services. So at this time, you can see David Kern is here for set and scenery, and Karen is the costume designer, and Kellyanne would be the choreographer. At this time, the drama production for the fall is in question. We had hoped to do something in person. The decision hasn't finally been made, but it's looking like it would be virtual. And if we do go in that direction, then we would not be using the services of the artists in residence after all. The spring musical has not been determined pending, what occurs over the next few months. So we were seeking board approval to, again, secure their services and pay them if and when the time comes that we do use them.
I know some other board members had their hands up first. Mark, then Jeff, and Susanna.
Yeah, just a quick comment. I always am proud of the people that we have working here in the district. And the drama teachers I've seen, the music teachers, the productions they put on. I think we have superstars that work for us every day. I have no doubt and confidence that these people are probably fantastic at their craft, and we may even be getting them for a reduced price. But I just wanted to make the comment. I think we have the best employees around. And when people come in from the outside to supplement that, it always gives me a little bit of caution. And that's not second guessing anybody's decision. It's just the pride that I have in our people that work here every day. So that's my one comment.
Just so you know, Mark, this is something that we have approved every year, since I've been here at least. But point well taken. Again, my issue was, and I'm not trivializing or minimizing a virtual performance. I give anyone who tries to do that so much credit. I just wasn't sure if we needed to spend the extra money on it. Jeff?
I just want one question. What's the stipend for for the person who we bring in for a normal day production for director choreographer at the high school?
Oh, boy. Gosh, Mr. Winston, I don't know off the top of my head right. I'd have to research and find out for you.
Would you guess that it's more than $15 an hour?
Yes.
Well, this is $15 an hour. Having spent my entire high school and long after career in theater, these kids will, normally a normal production in school would be roughly 180 hours of work
Right.
to produce that. In this case, well, let's call it 100 because we don't have 100 hours to put it together, which comes out to $15 per hour. And anything, especially the arts, that brings a minimal level of normalcy in these ridiculously hard times and crushing for every drama person, as I think President Becker also was one, I could be wrong. Yeah, you know what, that's money well spent. I get it, it's cheap, I can't believe you're getting people for $15 an hour to build a set. That is unheard of.
Well, I think too, we have tremendous resources, we have tremendous individuals that love to come here and work with our students. And obviously, it's not about the money. They get a small stipend for doing it, but they spend enormous amounts of time and they bring experiences outside the district. And to Mark's point, we have a lot of talented people within the district, but from time to time, we have the opportunity to supplement that with people who have experience on bigger productions. And in the city, we've had people that have had experience putting together Broadway shows and things of that nature. And I think that's always a great experience to showcase that and have our students exposed to that level of talent, and people have had that experience professionally.
And as it's been from the beginning of my time, I clearly remember Dr. Kimmel being brought in on many occasions to play and accompany theater productions back in the high school days. And we were lucky, because that was an internal resource.
Right.
I'm going to guess he got paid, but I don't think he did it for that reason either.
Right.
And so whoever thought of this, whoever put it together, whoever was able to get it into a budget like this, a debt of gratitude from me. I think it's
Jeff,
absolutely fantastic.
You brought up an aspect that I didn't even think about, and you were absolutely 100% correct. I was just thinking in terms of, I don't begrudge, again, I voted for this every single year. I just was concerned about spending money on a virtual production at a time when money is tight. But you brought up a point that's so important in terms of establishing a closest sense of normalcy as we can for the kids, and especially the kids in the arts who depend on this. This is what gets them through so much. So I thank you very much for bringing up that point, and
Just one footnote then, on that point.
Convince me.
On that point, I agree with you. Football's starting. Fall sports is starting.
I'm sorry?
I'm sorry. Football is starting, fall sports is starting, all those things are starting. And that other group, they need an at-bat too this year. So, the drama people. And I'm good. Yeah, my vote, if it is a vote.
Susanna, did you have something you wanted to say?
No, I think the discussion covered a lot of the questions I had as far as clarifying, what our plans were for moving forward with productions like this. And I do agree if there's a way to provide this opportunity to the kids, that would be great. But if it turns out to be remote, I trust it'll be great as well. So, with sports starting, it would seem to me that this is doable, but you may not be able to bring in an audience, but it could be recorded. So, I look forward to hearing the recommendations from staff on the best approach based on the latest guidance from the state.
And again, our motto is excellence in academics, the arts, and athletics. The arts are as important and crucial to life as breathing. And for some kids, it is their lifeline. It is the way that they can breathe. And I would never, ever take that away from them. Again, my concern was spending money on set design for a virtual production when money is very tight. However, again, Jeff, you brought up a very important point. So, without any further ado, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Abstain? Motion carries. Okay, moving on to our financial services agenda. Can I please have a motion for items 1 through 3?
So moved, Jeff.
Moved by Mark, second by Jeff. Is there any discussion? This is a roll call vote. Will the secretary please call the roll?
Mrs. Chu,
Yes.
Mr. Sismar,
Yes.
Mr. Hahn,
Yes.
Mrs. Lax.
Yes.
Mrs. Reese,
Yes.
Mr. Simmons.
Yes.
Mr. Winston,
Yes?
President Becker.
Yes, motion carries. Am I the only one who I keep thinking there's a cricket?
No, there's another.
I know, that's, okay. Moving on to our human resources agenda, I want to remind you that there was an addendum added. So can I please have a motion for items 1 and 2 on our personnel agenda, including the addendum? Moved by Mark, second by Jeff. Is there any discussion? This is a roll call vote. Will the secretary please call the roll?
And just to clarify, that's actually 3 items on the agenda.
There were actually 3 items on the agenda.
Everyone
Yes.
understood? Okay,
So moved.
great.
Second.
Still a roll call vote?
Yes, it is.
Okay.
Mrs. Chu,
Yes.
Mr. Sismar,
Yes.
Mr. Hahn,
Yes.
Mrs. Lax.
Yes.
Mrs. Reese,
Yes.
Mr. Simmons,
Yes.
Mr. Winston,
Yes.
President Becker.
Yes, motion carries. Can I please have a motion for our only item on tonight's student services agenda?
So moved.
So moved.
Moved by Liwu, second by Mark. Is there any discussion? Will the secretary please call the roll?
Mrs. Chu,
Yes. Yes.
Mr. Sismar,
Yes.
Mr. Hahn,
Yes.
Mrs. Lax,
Yes.
Mrs. Reese,
Yes.
Mr. Simmons.
Yes.
Mr. Winston.
Yes.
President Becker.
Yes, motion carries. Bringing us to committee reports, information items, and the good of the cause of the board. I believe our student rep, Anthony, is here with us tonight. How you doing,
evening.
Anthony?
I'm great. How are you?
Okay, how's it going?
I'm doing well. It's always a pleasure to speak to the board, even though, I'm still in my bedroom, obviously. So still, thank you for this opportunity. I'll get into it. As Mr. Winston mentioned, fall sports has come back with a handful of students even having games today. So that's really good for the athletes because they get some sense of normalcy. And even though the spectator count has been limited, and in some cases completely obliged, as Dr. Valesky mentioned, making it invitation only for family, it's still good for the athletes to get back on the field and at least have that outlet, even though almost everything else has been cut off. From the senior perspective, a lot of seniors are now getting into the swing of applying to college. It's October, so a lot of early schools have that application deadlines in November. And at this point, I want to speak on behalf of all the seniors when we say thank you to the guidance counselors, especially those that have been conducting senior interviews, because on behalf of all the students, they all think that it's really helpful and extremely necessary for comforting, students and at least making them feel a little bit more aware on the process that is applying to college. So thank you to the guidance counselors. The school itself has also been doing a lot to help individuals and groups of people. For example, last night was the PTSA college night. So that's just another example of the school, extending their hand and helping guide people. As well, next week is Respect Week, which includes days such as like Hat Day and Pajama Day, which is always interesting to see, especially considering the now online adaptation of that. So that would be fun to watch. And continuing the appreciation for principals, I do want to give a quick shout out to Dr. V, Dr. Vanella, especially for including the students. And for example, last week, there was a principal's council meeting where he took the initiative and gathered a bunch of student leaders and asked them on their opinions regarding matters and what they may change. And that initiative to include the students does not go unnoticed or unappreciated. So on behalf of the students, thank you to Dr. V, and on a broader scale for Principals Month, thank you to all the principals of East Brunswick Public Schools. And yeah, that's about it for tonight.
Anthony, tell me, are you noticing as you and your friends are applying to schools that more schools are waiving the SAT or ACT requirement because of the pandemic?
That's very true. Test optional is almost ubiquitous in terms of colleges. I can't really even think of any schools that are still requiring standardized testing. This is mainly because, there's a lot less opportunities. East Brunswick is actually an anomaly in the sense that they've been offering standardized testing since, I guess, late August, where almost every other school in the nearby regions closed down. And now they're kind of bundling standardized testing. But even despite this opportunities, most schools they keep it as test optional. But I think a lot of students will still send in their test scores if they have any, but it's not forcing the students to, risk their safety.
Thank you. I was just curious. I'm sure that going through the college process right now is challenging, to say the least, although I would imagine that there are going to be an awful lot of essays written about how I survived the pandemic.
Yeah, there are some schools that even have a specific COVID essay. Even on the Common App, there is a opportunity to speak to COVID. But another thing to keep in mind is the fact that everyone has been affected by COVID. So if your effects haven't been, I haven't gone outside, everyone hasn't gone outside. It's in order to really write that essay, you kind of have to, you have to have like not an extenuating circumstance, but with everyone being affected, that kind of creates a standard that you need to exceed if you really want to write that essay. But yeah, a lot of people may take that opportunity to express how COVID has affected them.
Thank you so much. Are there any committee reports, information items, or the good of the cause to the board? I just wanted to remark on the sportsmanship award that we received for our athletic program. Winning is great, right? Winning is a wonderful feeling. Being a sport parent, I can remember sitting in many games and just that feeling when your team brings it home. But the fact that our student athletes are recognized for not just winning, but playing and conducting themselves with class and grace and respect is incredible. I'm not saying it takes a place of a tournament trophy, but man, it's got to be up there. And I just want to say, first of all, to all our coaches and to the entire athletic staff, thank you for setting a tone and establishing a culture where our children know it's just as important to be respectful and do it with a lot of class on those fields and not just getting a home run, making the win, making the save. I'm so proud of each and every student athlete who represents this district with pride. And I just wanted to say congratulations to anyone involved with the program. Go Bears. Okay, anyone else? Committees are going to be, speaking of normalcy, committees are starting up again. If you haven't received a call from your administrative counterpart for your particular committee, please reach out to them. We perhaps don't need to meet with the same frequency, and a lot of the larger committees, like a curriculum or student services or community programs, are going to be by Zoom because there's so many people. But we are a board that runs on a committee system, and we should be back into the swing of things with that as well. Okay, if there's nothing else, we do have a need for a closed session. The Board of Education must discuss matters which are not appropriate for discussion in a public meeting, whereas the Board of Education intends to discuss matters as follows, and I hope everyone saw the amended agenda for tonight. Those items on tonight's agenda. The length of closed session is estimated to be 1 hour, after which the public meeting of the board shall reconvene and action will not be taken. Can I please have a motion to go into closed session?
So moved, Jeff.
Moved by Mark, second by Jeff. Is there any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstain? Motion carries. Good night. Thank you for joining us.